Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Groupthink. Groupthink is our dialogue series at CU where we pick a topic and have a discussion about whatever feels meaningful. My name is Madison. I'm a high school senior from Verders, Oklahoma, and I'm joined by some lovely members of our community. So if everyone could take a minute to introduce themselves, that would be great.
Hey everyone, I'm also a high school senior. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, and my name is Maryam.
Hey everyone, my name is Ashley. I'm also a high school senior and I'm from Vancouver, Washington.
Hey everybody, my name is Dariel. I'm a high school junior from Orlando, Florida.
Hi everyone, my name is Chabu. I am a first year university student and I live in Toronto, Canada.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia Turpak. I run a platform called Gen Z Connect that aims to empower Gen Zers, and I'm 23 years old.
Hey everyone, I'm Gary. I'm one of the co-founders of CU in New York City.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Today we're talking about surviving, thriving, and shifting broken systems. And we're going to try something a little bit new with the format towards the end. So I'm going to let Chabu explain because that was her idea.
So I'm really excited about tonight's topic, but after our usual groupthink practices, we're going to stop about 2/3 of the way, I believe, to pause and reflect on some of the answers that we gave throughout the conversation, just to see if we can pick up some underlying themes, big ideas, and major takeaways from the conversation.
Yeah, so you guys think 7:15 would be fine for that?
I think so.
Okay, awesome. And we always like to start off with a word association. So think of 3 words that come to mind when you hear broken systems. And then we can go through, and as you say your words, you can talk more about them if you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And then whenever you're ready, just speak up and I can write them down.
I can get us started. So when I think of broken systems, my 3 words are prevalent, disheartening, and overwhelming.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Anyone else?
My 3 words will be fixable, inevitable, and fixable. Wait.
so optimistic. I love it. Why don't you do fixable?
Yep. Fixable, inevitable, and breakable, I guess.
I can go family, self, community.
I can share mine. So mine were suffering people, corruption, and inefficiency. And no one's really explaining there, so I'm not sure if we're supposed to wait, but I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and share them. Anyway, the last one was inefficient. Yeah. Well, I guess I think of broken systems in a way where it's like, oh, when a system isn't running properly and these are kind of the results, people suffer and there's a lot of corruption because there are also people that are taking advantage of them, and then obviously there's a lot of inefficiency because the system isn't working in the way that it should be.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. If you guys want to explain your words, you can as well.
Well, I say fixable, because any broken system can be rebuilt, like what we're doing here at Civics Unplugged. Any system is bound to break at some point. Founding fathers thought our system was perfect at first, and then it broke, and now we're working to fix it. And breakable because of how fragile systems are and how breakable that they can be. One bad apple could turn an entire system bad.
And to explain the words that I chose, I would say that prevalent just because I used to think broken systems were exclusive to political systems, but when you really think about it, anything can be a system and any system can be broken. Disheartening because it's a very strange realization to come to when you realize that you're operating in broken systems, and overwhelming because of just like the sheer complexity of those issues.
My 3 words are compounding, regeneration, and hope. And I guess like when I think about broken systems, like compounding because, like things build on top of each other. I honestly like don't know why regeneration came up. I was trying to figure out the word. I know it starts with an R. I'm not sure if I'm saying the right word, but like I just like when I think about fixing broken systems, like I think about creating like space for like old knowledge or like different truths to be restored. And then hope, because I feel like if you want to fix anything, like you need some degree of hope.
Julia, did you want to share?
Yeah, so my 3 words are miscommunication, repair, and overwhelming also came to mind, just like someone else said. But miscommunication more so from like the different outlooks going into the systems, like people's different intentions and people's different outlooks, that they may think that something is positive going into a system, but someone else's outlook could be completely different, and have a more in-depth look at it, and it could be negative. Repair, just because obviously broken, you think of repair, and overwhelming, again, like someone said, the complexity of it all.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing. And now we can get into the actual conversation. So if any of you have a question or provocation that you want to pose, we can get started there.
Yeah, more than just questions this time. Chabu, do you have anything on the? Oh, Julia.
Repeat your question.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you were raising your hand or something.
Oh no, did I? No.
Oh, okay. I think you did. My bad. Chabu, do you have any provocation you want to start off with? Otherwise, I might.
No, you can take it away, Gary.
Oh. Dariel, what about you?
What type of systems around your world do you see every day?
Cool.
Well, I like this question, Dariel. So like props to you for asking it, because before CU, I didn't really think of a lot of things as systems. I thought it was like, oh, there's like the political system and like that's pretty much it. But now I kind of see like everything as a system. Like I am a system and like my family. Yeah, look, all the things that I'm learning. Unplugging from old mindsets and plugging into new mindsets. But yeah, I definitely see like myself as a system and my family as a system and like school as a system, and pretty much like everything is a system. It's just like how like what scope it applies to, if that makes sense. So like yeah, that's pretty much my take on the types of systems I see every day.
So I think I can maybe list a few off the top of my head. So school is absolutely a system. The way that I choose to like do my reflections in the morning, that's a system to like prepare me for the day. My family is a system. As much as like America itself, like the democracy is a system, but then there's also a global system at play. There's lots of variety with this answer. I totally resonate with what Maryam said.
One type of system I've started to realize after Civics Unplugged is my county government is one big system. So at once I thought my school just reported to our county government and that was it. But I'm starting to realize how many different parties are involved in our school system and how many different parties are involved in how we police our county. police unions, teachers unions, all connects to both our county and their respective trades, along with other partner agencies that may not be so public, but are still very well in that system. There's a lot of different things influencing decisions, and that requires systems thinking to truly understand the decisions that a leader may make.
Well said.
I think it's so important that you brought that up because like local systems are probably the most undervalued, but the most impactful ones, I would say.
Yep. On that note, I have a provocation, or I guess a question. What systems might you want to think about if you're trying to ensure that every baby is able to get the proper nutrition around the world? Like, shouldn't that be a cool, like, global cooperation goal? Like, all babies get good nutrition. So what systems should we care about?
First stop would probably be your nation's State Department or the foreign relations type body of whatever nation you're in, which is connected to the international community. And that international community is connected to a bunch of other foreign state agencies. And, having that good relationship with a nonprofit or whatever you're building with that can help you be a part of that system of foreign relations and foreign aid and things like that.
I'm going to intentionally go in a different direction and start with smaller systems. So I would think about like family dynamics and like parents knowing what nutrition should look like for their child. I think about like local communities because not sometimes like parents aren't there 24/7. So like what does the support system know about proper nutrition? I think about schools and friendships and cultures that you build around children, just like what kind of systems and cultures are you building around their relationship with food? And then you can get to like doctors and the medical system. I think that all those people and communities with all those smaller systems would help create a system where food, help proper nutrition was accessible and feasible.
I also think a lot about historical systems because I know that like Native Americans face like a lot of like not access to like good like grocery stores, and so they have to either travel like a really long time because they're not like on the reservation, or they just have to go to like junk food stores, and that like leads to a lot of like not access to proper nutrition. And so I think about like just historical actions in the past that lead to like inner city communities or like Native American reservations not having access to proper nutrition, and like just the implications of decisions from a while ago and how those systems impact who gets access to proper nutrition today.
We don't have we can go back to this question, but related to this, what was I going to say? Oh, what systems slash entities? I guess those are systems. What systems are incentivized to create conditions upon which babies don't get the proper nutrition?
How do you spell it?
Google Chrome has this cool thing called spell check.
ENTIV. No. Sorry. No. Okay. INC ENTIVIZED. Oh wait. No. Wait. What? Wait. Did I get that wrong?
That's what I put the first time.
All right. Well, that's fine.
Okay. What systems are incentivized? What
to work against the above mission, basically?
I'd say corporate America, the big giants in food, Tyson Foods, all those other companies, because they make big money by surge pricing their foods in different nations other than the United States. And if there's nobody to make sure that children get proper nutrition around the world, who's to say that they can charge whatever they want? So that could be a possible benefit to not give babies the proper nutrition around the world to corporate America.
On the note of corporate America, did y'all know that like the Food and Drug Administration was like basically bribed to say that like sugar was good for you, like bread, like heavy carbs and sugar was good for you for like decades?
Gary's watching box videos again.
Like to this day, there are things that like will be on an American website that I cannot order or ship to Canada because the FDA might have approved of it, but it's actually not approved in Canada. Like this happens it's very common.
Pizza is actually considered a vegetable on school lunches because of corporate America.
Dude, no way.
How much?
Because of tomato sauce. Because of the tomato sauce. They're considered a vegetable, so that pizza companies can still insert themselves into the school cafeteria, which means they are considered a healthy snack according to the what was it? Agriculture. USDA. According to USDA, they're a healthy food.
Wow.
Guess who benefits from that? Pizza Hut's school lunch program. Domino's school lunch program.
One thing I'll add is the current medical industrial complex. It doesn't make much money on keeping healthy people healthy. It makes more money on charging sick people a shit ton of money for stuff that might not even work that well. You don't have to write that. Madison, can you check the chat just so that you stop the flashing lights, and maybe we can not chat so that so we're not distracted by it. Yeah.
I think that like my response is in the same line of like what was said earlier, but essentially like what incentivizes people to break a system is to create demand that wouldn't naturally exist.
Ooh.
I think I want to pose a question. What is a surface level issue that you've witnessed, and then it's correlating systems issue, like system that it engages with?
Standardized testing. Department of Education is involved. Major textbook companies like Pearson or McGraw-Hill are involved.
Dariel's never getting into college now.
College Board, ACT are involved.
Blacklisted.
Oh no, college admissions officers are going to see this. College admissions offices even. I'm not getting into college. I hope you can support me, Gary.
The feeling when Dariel became the greatest systems thinker of all time in 2020.
Basically, anything that profits off of standardized tests, textbooks, tutoring programs, Khan Academy themselves.
Wow. Oh. That's true.
Textbooks,
Khan Academy in at least some way, Khan Academy is happy that our schools
Princeton Review
are not working.
Charging me like $100 for a like 30-page book. But yeah, anything involving education, even teachers, because they have to have, in some school districts, they have to have good test scores in order to get paid. So supporting
Oh.
standardized testing and preparing students to take that standardized test rather than teaching them content that will help them incentivizes them.
You know, like that's why like high school principals are so focused on like graduation rates and ensuring schools have high test scores, since that is how like they demonstrate that they are leading their schools like in the right direction and that they're like doing a good job. It's like it's really sad like how like I feel like a lot of what drives like these systems is literally like profit and power, and how like I don't know, like people just want to make money and will do whatever they need to do to make money.
Yeah, on that point, when I was in college, like for all the business classes, now you can't even buy like reused books. You have to get new ones because they have the access codes as well. So you can't even do like secondhand shopping for textbooks because of all the access codes now.
It's probably a God save that my school district pays for my college classes right now since I'm still in high school, because with my family, I probably wouldn't have made it past my associate's degree and still be able to afford that college education.
Dariel, you're so smart for understanding how the system works and using it. Oh, by the way,
It's about to be my LinkedIn header. Systems thinkers master.
Systems thinking master. Dariel, unrelated to this topic. What this is making me realize, like the way that we're doing this, we can, you know how in the YouTube, like comment section, or not the comment, the caption, you can put the timestamps. So we could literally have the questions here, so people can quickly scan if they think they'd be interested in this conversation. And then like I would actually love for you to test out with the 2021 fellows if they're interested in clicking on any of these sections.
Yeah, definitely.
Test
like,
that? Okay.
Yeah. Fellows are actually.
You can also show how much of an amazing systems thinker you are.
Fellows are actually having their own hangout nights, so I may just come into one of them and just show it to them.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, what's another issue?
So another issue that exists, like a surface level issue, is the like unhealthy like diet culture that exists, especially like on social media platforms towards women. But then a correlating system that relates to is like a patriarchal system that's both like historic and very prevalent, and things like an internalized male gaze that makes that system thrive.
I actually got Diet Coke instead of the drink that I like because like I thought having Diet Coke and having an entire McDonald's order will like balance it out. So that diet culture definitely played a role into what I just did right now.
Anyone want to add on to Chabu's topic?
Well, one of the things that I was actually just talking about today was like related to the beauty industry. Is like so many things like, well, I guess like the beauty industry in general seems like a very like surface level issue, like, oh, like looking good. But like even things like down to like how good like your teeth look is something that like nobody even thinks about. But like people can't afford like dental care without health insurance. And if you can't afford health insurance, then like you're not gonna have good looking teeth. And like I didn't even think about this, but I can't remember. Like I think it was like AOC like posted something on her story about like how she finally was able to afford dental care because like she's a congresswoman now, and she was like, oh, you know, like having good teeth or like insulting people because they don't have good teeth is just like very reflective of like their access to health insurance or like money to be able to pay for all things related to beauty. So I think that's like really interesting to think about.
I think it's really interesting how like there are things that we do like almost like habits or almost like societal habits that we still have in practice that are a byproduct of older systems. And then we don't even notice that like that's why we do certain things.
I have another thought-provoking thing, if I can.
We will see if it's thought provoking. Go for it.
Gotta wait for Madison to finish typing. If a system is too broken, is it better to just dismantle it completely or try and reform and shift them?
I really want to say that it's better to reform and shift them just because there's so many examples where the people who are like the most entrenched in the system or the most like participatory in the system typically are those that are like marginalized in a lot of different ways. So it's almost like to resolve the issue, you have to like engage with those who are like invested in the system the most, if that makes sense. So no, I think it'd be better to shift it and kind of like bring everyone along in that process, because dismantling it also means putting those who are like the most compromised in the system at risk.
I say shifts because as Chabu said, system right now that's at least barely sustaining its people is a little bit better than no system at all. And that's typically what happens when you dismantle a system. You have no system for a good amount of time before something else happens. It's happened throughout life with evolution in biology. And you can apply that same concept here to social studies because everything is connected. And just starting from one point and moving on up is better than starting from no point at all.
Wait, so to clarify, like dismantling means like breaking apart the system and building something new?
Abolish the president, that's dismantling systems.
I think another, like, this is there's more than just this option, right? Can we add like build a different system that serves the original purpose? Yeah. And that's like we're very early in this journey, but like it's like, is CU trying to address a lot of the failings of the education system, the personal development space, the mental health treatment space, mentorship space, democracy, tech like the answer is yes, right? The answer is all of these things. And
historical sector.
Yeah, like the
made by us,
almost like these sorry for people that are doing this right now, like the speech and debate sort of like hegemony on people's minds. Like this, we're not debating things. We're not like we'll have different like perspectives on different things, but the fact that like we've been taught as a society to think that winning over other people and like crushing someone in debate, well, that's reflected in what YouTube videos that people watch. Like X person crushes this other person, and we think that we actually think that that's like the right thing, and that starts from a very early age. I think that sort of mentality.
I would think building a system is a byproduct of both dismantling and shifting it, because when you're shifting a system, you're basically building on top of that system. When you dismantle it, a new system is going to have to come by sooner or later, so you're building an entirely new system.
Noor, do you have any like provocation question, anything related to shifting, surviving, thriving, and shifting broken systems?
Yeah, hi, I'm Noor. I'm 16. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. The first thing that kind of comes to mind, just like with that question, is like, I guess, what does it mean if a system is broken? Because part of that to me is like there are obviously systems that are just in place that like systematically or systemically harm certain individuals. And to me, that's broken beyond repair. And so I think it, like, just for the last question, I think it depends on what the system is and like what definition of broken we use. Just because, like, if a system, even if you continuously reform it, if its intent or purpose was to like harm a certain individual, it's going to continue to do that. In which case, you dismantle and create something new that does serve a better purpose.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. For the CU team, the meaning of future of democracy has changed drastically over the past 12 to 18 months. We realized that just about everything, including but everything related to our political system, not just like whether Florida has open primaries or ranked choice voting, right? It's like the culture, all the lobbying machines, all the different like systems that would like for the political system to not work. And so everything has to change. The whole world, there's a whole new world to be built where that is not held down by this really pathological machine, to Noor's point. And like I almost feel like broken sometimes is not enough. That's not even harsh enough of a word. It's so broken it's gaslighting us. And it's like killing us. It's making us want to kill each other. Literally. I mean,
Actually found it really interesting that Madison, when you introduced the topic for today, you said, I think you said like something about like surviving, thriving, and shifting broken systems. And like, I guess I am wondering, is like surviving and thriving a requirement before you can shift that system? Like, should people be expected to survive certain systems? I guess like also like surviving has such like, I don't know, like a shipwreck island survival vibe for me, and it seems like very like life or death, which I know like some systems are, but like I also feel like people deserve more than just surviving.
I think the connotation of the word surviving is super important because like when you're operating in a broken system, you are by no means like thinking visionary or thinking ahead or engaging with like the bigger picture. I think that a common quality characteristic in a lot of broken systems is the fact that like there is no time to like think about why things are the way they are and like recognize the system that's in place. So I think that surviving isn't necessarily like being like surviving is just like focusing on what's in front of you for the sake of just like being able to make it to the next day. Thriving is like what would be required of an actual shift.
So like how do you go from surviving to thriving in a system that isn't built for you?
or maybe you're thriving in spite of it, and maybe often you're privileged to not have to deal with the day-to-day ramifications of its brokenness, and so you recognize that you can serve other people, not just yourself, when you're shifting it. Julia, do you mind talking about like how delusion is almost necessary for a lot of things related to change?
Yeah, Gary and I talked about this recently, and it's something that I've been thinking about for like the past year, that in a lot of ways you have to have some sort of delusional thinking in order to, I say, to be successful, but also just achieve big goals and yeah, what you're set out to do. You are often not going to be the most intelligent person or the most well-rounded person for a certain task, but you have to believe that you are unique in a way and your thinking is unique in a way for you to be able to achieve these goals that you set out for yourself. Not, I guess you could say a God complex in a way is what Gary and I were talking about. But yeah, you kind of have to just be delusional in order to reach these crazy goals that you set.
And just to kind of tie that more explicitly to like, I guess, what is evoked when you're saying surviving the system, like a social system, is the odds are really stacked against someone that is trying to shift the system. And I was actually talking to a friend earlier today that everything about CU is an experiment. Like, we don't know if what's going to happen, but we're going to, I think we're all down to try. we're all down to, and also why it's actually making me think about why it's important to enjoy the process of trying to get the system to a better place, because you can't control the outcome. So at least we can say that we enjoyed each other's company, that we enjoy these dialogues, and we got better individually at every step of the way.
I think it's so imperative to focus on the idea of the process that leads you to like a potential goal, especially if you're like genuinely unlearning and disengaging and unplugging from a problematic system. That means that like your new learning should be applied to your goals, and that can be a really exhaustive process when you're like working towards something and then never quite getting there because the goal reiterates or shifts. So I think that if the process isn't a sustainable system of its own, it's not a fulfilling system of its own, then that would make, you know, thriving in the system or disengaging with the system really hard to do.
I definitely agree with that. And I also feel like it doesn't always I feel like change doesn't always need to result in like systems being shifted or like big things happening. Like,
yeah,
I feel like there are a lot of like smaller systems to shift, or even like if you don't quite shift the system, like you could better understand how it works. Like,
well said.
Ashley's point just kind of reminds me of like one of the many problems associated with the systems we partake in today is that like it's almost like you're unsuccessful if the end goal isn't reached, and we're told not to like switch the end goal up because, you know, like that's decided on, and it's like it's what you've been working toward, and so I think that it kind of reminds me of how like we see CU as right now an oasis, but to like I guess like one of the end goals is that like at a certain point it's not just an oasis, it's just how the world functions. And so I guess like it's a sign of a broken system that like if the end product is more important than like the path or like the system of changing the end or getting to the end product, I think that you know that a system is working well when you're like comfortable, I think, with failing to get to, well, you're comfortable with like the end goal not being fulfilled there.
I think that something that I like value more than anything in any type of systems intervention is a systems intervention that's designed to like make itself cease. You know what I mean? Like if I am designing a systems intervention to like create food security. Like my end goal is to make sure that my job doesn't exist anymore at some point in time. And I think that that's something that's almost like rare, especially when I look at like really big systems interventions that exist, or really classic iterations of what it means to engage in work. Like that's not an ongoing conversation, that at the end of the day, the hope and ambition shouldn't be to like get bigger and grow. It should be to not have to need this intervention anymore. And I think that that's something that needs to be like at the forefront of conversations more often.
That was so
yeah,
well said.
like
Oh, go ahead, Ashley. I would just say we can jump to the next part after this.
okay, yeah, no, totally fine. We can do that.
No, feel free to speak up.
Honestly, don't quite remember what I was gonna say anymore. So
It's okay.
Sorry for interrupting you.
It's all right. So I will. I just want to add one more point to Chabu. So what the example that I like to use to really make me believe what Chabu said is like someone that operates a homeless shelter has an incentive, like whether they want to admit it or not, they have an incentive, especially if it's like a for-profit one. Has an incentive to, and a for-profit prison as well, right? They have an incentive to make sure that the issue can persist, especially like, and think about how, like, almost certainly this has been the case, where like the board of the like the homeless shelter company or for-profit prisons, like how do we scale? Think about what this says about our society, that we have people that are thinking about scaling a prison. It makes sense if it's a business. Anyways.
Yeah, so we can continue on to you can just put like reflections here, or like, I don't know, Chabu, what do you want to call this section?
So actually, so a thought just came to mind. If there's any way that you could like share the link of this page, just so everyone can like kind of scroll back and forth and like look at what we've said so far. But I guess like the overall goal of this section of the call is just to like look at the things that we talked about and not necessarily answer the provocation or topic of this groupthink, but just kind of think of like what are some underlying themes or conclusions, just like reflecting on the great discussion that we had.
One is that that language really affects the way that we talk about change and see our ability to make it. Like the language we use, the language we choose to use, like broken, shift. Can you also add like and how we and how much we even believe that we can make change? And you don't have to put this, but like even the word making change has a bunch of baggage as well. So
I think I picked up on something similar there, just like the idea of shifting systems rather than like, because there's so many words that you could use in place of shifting, but I think the word shifting respects the fact that it takes a lot of time and learning and relearning and reiterating. So rather than like instantaneously turning it into something different or like magically resolving everything instantaneously, like the idea of shifting, which takes time, effort. I like imagine pushing something really heavy across the street that has a lot of like powerful meaning behind that too.
yeah, I think what stood out, like what resonates most with me is just that idea of like systems don't always need to scale and they don't need to be huge, and like I think just like an overall like trend towards thinking about systems as like smaller and more tangible things, like system of yourself and system of your family. And yeah, and some systems aren't intended to be really big. I think that's like one of the ways that we like measure success is like how big something is or like how much it grows. And I think that can be really toxic.
Just to kind of like second Ashley's point, I was also reading a few of the notes from above, and I know Maryam said that like you yourself, you're your own system, and there are like a plethora of systems that you can change, and like I feel like that could be a thought that's like really scary. Is like there's so much that can or should or needs to be changed. But I know like being able to shift your like you at yourself as a system, and like understanding the process and how that works is like, at least for me, it was like a really cool segue into like thinking a little bit bigger, not necessarily like scale wise, but like what other systems around me other than myself can I shift, knowing that I've started shifting my own.
I learned that there are a lot of systems that aren't organized bodies that you could look at. For example, Chabu's explanation of how the patriarchy could be seen as a system that you could connect to the diet trend, I guess you could say. Or
Good point.
So knowing that there aren't organized bodies that could be considered systems is very helpful.
That's scary, right? Because we'd like to blame like people in a boardroom for why we're suffering, but often.
And it also taught me that I'm part of a system of banana lovers.
I think my next point connects to what Gary just said about the fact that it'd be easier to like blame a group of people in the boardroom. And I also noticed that like throughout the conversation, we kind of talked about different systems and iterations of systems. And like for the most part, the conversation would like almost like point to one specific system instead of like the multiple ones that contribute to creating issues. And I think it just kind of goes to show how like it is so overwhelming that it's really easy to like pick one, and it's hard to like, but that doesn't resolve very much because systems are connected to other systems, and that's a really important thing to engage with when you're looking at these issues.
Yeah, another thing kind of related that I was reflecting on throughout this entire conversation is that in order to realize what systems need to be shifted, like you kind of have to be disillusioned with the world around you in a way, but in order to create like meaningful change, you have to have a sort of like delusional or like idealistic amount of hope, because otherwise like you won't be able to kind of like pursue the change in a meaningful way that'll like be able to continue it. So
Yep.
I don't really know like where that balance is between like delusionment and hope for the future, but I think balancing the two is like something really important to consider.
Well, so Maryam, just I don't know if I'm kind of derailing the section, but just to kind of respond to that, I personally did not, you know, like a year and a half ago, think that I would care so much about be honest, be transparent about the individual well-being of each of you. And it's like, one, I was just like, oh, like obviously I should care and it feels good to care, but also practically speaking, I feel a lot less bad if, for example, Dariel's open primaries campaign in Florida does not, fully succeed. If I'm like, Dariel is growing a lot, Dariel has an amazing future, and it's not about the next year, it's about the next 10, 20, like, y'all need to lead this. Like y'all need to be like the Jedis that are like like leading everything in the next decade.
Clarification, it didn't succeed.
What?
Clarification, it did not succeed.
No, I said, well, yeah. Anyways, you know what I mean.
I think that's kind of like one of the biggest lessons that like I learned, I think this year, especially with speech, because like everyone says like, oh, if you've grown as a person, like then you've done well in like the tournament or the round or the competition. And I feel like every time that was told to like either me or like competitors or kids from my school, it was always like, but I still didn't do well. And it was like, you're just saying that because XYZ. But I think that when you really like embrace the fact that you still are growing, even if like a certain like success didn't pan out the way you thought it would or that you wanted it to, I just think it's cool to see that that's something that can be embraced. And when it is, like, it just makes, at least for me, it just makes speech even more enjoyable than it was from last year.
What Noor just said made me realize that, like, even though like existing in the system feels like it doesn't feel like a tangible thing, it makes perfect sense for progress to also not feel like a tangible thing. And that's a really important parallel to keep in mind.
And I think to Noor's point, like not achieving the large end goal doesn't discredit all the efforts that you made throughout the process of trying to better that system. Like there are many small efforts that can be achieved throughout that process that positively affect like those surface level things that we were talking about, that play into the bigger system long term, and it all adds up over time.
Yeah, I guess to that point, I feel like a lot of contributions in systems change gets overlooked. Like I feel like it's, I don't know, but I just get the vibe that like people think systems shift like when like one person like starts a movement or does something cool and then like everything changes. And like actually so many people have like been working on these systems for like decades, and like there are so many parties who are involved, and like I don't know, I just feel like there needs to be a lot more like contribution, like recognition of like, I guess, acknowledgement of contributions that people are making, so that people don't burn out, like because system change isn't like super quick.
Honestly, I had the mental model that I didn't really acknowledge for the longest time about systems change being like a million man march. Like it's all about the big marches and stuff. And look, I think a lot of people think that. And I don't think that they're like consciously like thinking about that question and writing down their answer. But I think that's it's so prominent in people's brains because of media. Like that's change. You're making change. And then like like, and who do we celebrate? We celebrate the people that are good talkers, that are really photogenic, that are really good at sound bites. I've never been good at sound bites, and Madison especially knows. Like, I'll give the like most. I hate giving quick short. I mean, obviously short answers. But by the way, Julia, thank you for your great questions for IG. I'm about to respond to one of them.
Nice.
All right, any last reflections?
I think we could do a reflection on this reflection section because it's the first time we did it. So maybe we do that for like a couple minutes.
I think also if something can majorly change all in one go, like all in one huge effort, you also have to evaluate if that change is even good, because I think so much thought has to go into something that's actually common good in a way and valuable change compared to like, yeah, these mass efforts that are all at once. I think those have to be evaluated more.
I think that I also appreciate the fact that like this is like these conversations are very much the process, and it's equally important to reflect on your process as you engage with it. And so I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I was able to appreciate the content a little bit more.
Yeah, I liked it as well. I think both of the sections couple really well together because the general conversation allows us to go deep on specific topics like nutrition, and this allows us to think bigger picture about what we talked about.
Go ahead. Okay, I was just gonna say that like I think normally after these conversations there's like so many ideas like mulling through my mind and like I'm just sitting on like a wealth of like information and reflections and I'm like, okay, but now I have to go do everything else that I have to do and I kind of like the processing might happen later or sometimes like I hate to admit it, but it might not happen to like the level that I want it to. But this is kind of like a forcing function to just like sit down and reflect and like kind of ruminate on everything we've been talking about now. And it kind of like kickstarts the process for me so that I can continue it on my own, but also it makes it a little bit more like, I don't want to say productive because like everything that we're doing here is like, I don't want to make it as in like, oh yeah, this is good or like money making or anything like that, but it is, it feels more like efficient for me to be like, okay, like we can collectively reflect and then it just helps me to start that process, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's cool that like the reflection portion kind of made me like not only reflect on the conversation, but also on like the systems that or the broken systems that we like perpetuate without actually knowing. So I thought that was cool, but I was filming a few speeches, so I wasn't able to come for the first half, and being able to like read notes and kind of at least get like the general gist of what happened earlier was cool, and then like bring that into the reflection part. I thought it was interesting. So.
All right, anything else?
What do you think, Madison?
Oh, I mean, like I said, I think that it was a really good addition. It was a great idea, Chabu.
Oh, thank you for being down to experiment.
That's what we're all about. Love experiments. Okay, well, if there's not anything else, thank you guys so much for coming. It was a great conversation as usual, and I will see you all next week.
Bye everyone, thank you.
Bye.